There are so many things you can make with twisted wire. You can make bangles, tiara bases, rings and so forth. And this is a new project that I've come up with, which is twisting beads into the wire as you go, rather than putting them on afterwards. So if you follow the technique section on twisting wires, it's exactly the same sort of thing, just cutting. In fact, I've cut 20 inches, 3 different lengths here of 0.8 20 gauge. I've secured them in the table vise, and then I'm now starting to thread beads of my choice onto the 3 wires. So I'm just coming up with threading, I think it's about the last bead here. I'll just get rid of these for a minute. And it doesn't matter which wire you thread them on, but do split the beads up amongst the wires that you're using. And I have used 3, but equally you could use 6, you know, and make a much, much chunkier piece. So once you've got the beads on, tape with a bit of masking tape, just get a little snip of masking tape and tape the ends together so that they're all completely secure, and then put them into the chuck of the hand drill ready for twisting. So I'll just secure that in there. And then just follow the instructions for twisting. So I'm just literally going to turn the handle, make sure that all my beads are sitting at the center of the wire. That's the most important thing, because this is going to be the centerpiece. And away you'll go, and these sides will twist together and hold the beads at the center. So follow the instructions for twisting, and I'll show you the twisted piece. Here are the beads integrated now into the twisted wire. So if you wanted to make a bangle, you can also do this and just position them wherever you want along the twist. But this is for the choker. So now I'm going to create the form of the choker by wrapping it around something circular. I've got a large mandrel here, which is actually used for jewellery, and you can see it's been well used, well bashed in the past. You can get these from jewellery suppliers, and they're obviously much cheaper than the steel ones. But equally, you could get a wine bottle or a circular biscuit tin or something and wrap it around just to get that, start forming that shape. Now I'm going to cut those messy, unsightly ends off. So this was 20 inches, but do allow that this shrinkage when you're cutting off bits at the other end. And now I want to make a clasp. So all I do is unravel the twist. So just twist it in the opposite direction to how you made it, separating those 3 wires. And there we go, that's one end. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other end in a minute. Turn it round and do the same thing. Don't worry if you distort the circular shape of the piece at this stage. You will do, just by manhandling it. So we can come back and put it around a mandrel again and reshape it. So don't worry too much. There we go. So what I'm going to do is try and get rid of all, because I don't want 3 ends. So what I do is just wrap one of the wires around the other 2. And then I cut that away. That gets rid of one exposed wire. I'm going to do that with my second wire now, but I'm not going to cut it right down. I'm going to leave a little bit, about 1 inch or so, and I'm going to spiral that and flatten it against the wrap, so that will hide that messy wrap underneath. So just curl that around. Bring that in towards the stem, and we're just going to flatten that over there. And that hides the wrap underneath. So we're just left with that exposed wire, which we're going to make into a link. that will support a clasp. If you want, you can add a bead there also to inject a little bit more colour into your piece. So I'm going to create a wrapped loop at this stage. So I'm just wrapping it around my round nose pliers and bringing the extra wire around to create a wrapped loop. And then you can just cut off any excess wire with your wire cutters and just make sure there's no exposed ends. So it's the same thing for the other side. Just wrap away one of the wires, cut it off and neaten. And then the second one. Obviously, if you have used more wires in the twist, you will have to do this with many more of the wires. I've only got 3, but I have done choker bases like this with about 6 wires, so it's really thick and chunky. And then you just have to keep sort of getting rid of exposed wires at the end. Just keep cutting them, wrapping them, cutting them, wrapping them. Right, I'm curling the end in towards the wrap to cover that, hide that mess. And just sort of press it over the wrap. And now I can make my wrap loop. So I still have to make a clasp to attach it, which is not hard to do. Of course you can use a ready-made clasp. I'm not suggesting you have to make everything, but if you can, it obviously looks more integrated and it also will blend far better. I'm just going to use a steel block now and a hammer, and this will work harden those ends. I'm just going to hammer the very, very end of that loop. This is a way of toughening up the wire. There we go. And all we need to do now is attach a ready-made clasp, or you make one, and I can quickly show you how to make a fishhook clasp. This is silver-plated 0.8 wire, and all I'm going to do is create a little circle at the end with my round nose pliers, bend that into a hook, cut it off from the stem, and there's the hook already of my clasp, and then I'm going to create the link on the hook. Now again, I want to toughen this a little bit, so I'm going to hammer the end. That hammering not only spreads the wire, but it will toughen it up. And then I can link that on to the end of my choker here. If you find that the choker's too short, you can always add another jump ring or a bit of chain, or whatever you want, but otherwise that's the clasp for the end. And it's ready to wear. So you can make these in combination of different coloured wires, different coloured beads, and they will always look different every time you make them because you're never quite sure how the wires and beads are going to work together. So they're a bit of a surprise, but always a good surprise.